The novel The Island of Dr. Moreau was written by sci-fi household name H.G. Wells way back in 1896 when he was 30 years old. The story follows the shipwrecked Edward Prendick and his experiences on the island home of the titular Dr. Moreau, a mad scientist obsessed with vivisection and the creation of living human-animal hybrids. The novel was not just an example of classic science fiction, but is considered one of H.G. Wells' best works outside of his most famous novel, The War of the Worlds. The story has been adapted countless times for stage and screen, and there's been numerous references in comics, TV, and video games. Today, I'll be going over one such adaptation that ran into so many problems it's become an infamous footnote in American pop culture. I'm ThinkSoJoE, this is Things You Might Not Know, and this is Richard Stanley's Island of Dope! A century after the novel's release in 1996, New Line Cinema adapted the story for its third go-around on the big screen. Starring Val Kilmer, David Thewlis, Fairuza Balk, and an extremely past his prime Marlon Brando, this version of the story would eventually end up being directed by John Frankenheimer, who wasn't brought on until the movie was well into filming. The issues that the production went through, specifically with how much of a burden it was to have Marlon Brando star in your movies at this point in his career, has been pretty well documented. But what happened to the director that John Frankenheimer replaced, and why did that even need to happen in the first place? The Island of Dr. Moreau was originally meant to be helmed by South African horror director Richard Stanley, best known for the 90s films Hardware and Dust Devil. During pre-production of the film, tensions between Stanley and New Line Cinema were running extremely high. These tensions were attributed to the quirky young director's tendency to be narrow-minded when receiving notes and suggestions from the studio. He also refused to show up to meetings with studio heads. Hostilities only grew when the first week of filming began, which were exacerbated by the aforementioned Marlon Brando issues, which caused him to be frequently absent. On top of this, lead actor Val Kilmer not only arrived on set 2 days late, but was consistently hostile and obstructive, often being referred to as a bully. Richard Stanley was directly blamed for not being able to handle Kilmer during filming. Feeling the mounting pressure, co-star Rob Moreau, who was replaced later by David Thewlis, quit on the second day of filming, stating that he was unable to bear the tension and hostility on set. The cherry on top of all this was that, after only 3 days of filming, the production was shut down for an unforeseeable amount of time due to extreme weather. Executives at New Line held an immediate emergency meeting that ended in the decision to quickly and quietly fire Richard Stanley by fax, which is arguably as bad as breaking up with someone via text. Out of fear of how he could sabotage the film, New Line Cinema offered to pay Richard Stanley his full fee if he kept quiet about his firing. How this all went down did not sit well with a bunch of the cast and crew, including Fairuza Balk, who stormed off the set and threatened to quit. The reason she's still in the movie is that New Line executives allegedly threatened to torpedo her whole career if she broke her contract and did not return to set. The 2014 documentary Lost Soul, the doomed journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, covers Richard Stanley's experiences while he conceived and developed the project, as well as his time as director. The documentary also covers the aftermath, the effect it had on the cast, crew, and overall film. A tidbit that was actually pretty interesting is how Richard Stanley clandestinely still left his mark on the finished product of The Island of Dr. Moreau in the form of sneaking back on set and appearing as an extra, disguised as one of the dogmen. In February 2020, Yahoo News reported that Richard Stanley was looking to take another stab at directing a new version of The Island of Dr. Moreau. Don't hold your breath on that one though, because in March 2021, screenwriter Scarlett Amaris alleged in a blog post that she had been in an abusive relationship with Richard Stanley, which she reported to French law enforcement in 2014. She has also stated that there are others that have had the same experience with Stanley. As of this video, investigations into this matter are still ongoing. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Things You Might Not Know. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I post a new video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can see a playlist of things you might not know videos over here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.